What a pleasure to be here today with Mayor Eric Garcetti. An opportunity to get out and enjoy LA a little bit, but it's a great way to cap off what has been 3 or 4 days of really productive visits across the United States, from Chicago to San Francisco and now to LA. Conversations about how close our two nations are. Canada and the U.S. have a relationship unlike any two countries in the world, and the economic ties, the people-to-people ties, the connections that we have are something to celebrate. We've been talking about NAFTA as well. There's always opportunities to update and improve the way our countries work together, but it's been a real benefit to our citizens on both sides of the border in all NAFTA countries, and I'm just really pleased of how well it's been. It's so great to be able to have an opportunity to connect with Eric, talk about all the connections between Canada and California and LA specifically.
Mr. Prime Minister, it's such an honor to receive you here in Los Angeles. We brought a little Canadian weather here to make you feel right at home.
This isn't Canadian February, don't worry.
Not February. But we are so excited, and I'm personally excited to spend some time with you here in this iconic place. I start my weekends usually in Griffith Park hiking with friends and family, so sharing that tradition, or where you see the diversity of our city, is something we're so proud to share with you. And I want to thank you for how much time you've spent here really connecting with the key industries in California, technology, entertainment. We are tied very closely to Canada. That friendship is critically important to us. You're our third largest investor, foreign direct investor. This is the largest collection of Canadians outside of Canada here in Southern California. We're very proud of that. And it shows why these relationships are so important at a time when we need to have more bridges and more connections, not more divisions. So we're excited to just have a nice hike today before we send the Prime Minister back to Canada on what I know has been a very fruitful visit. And thank you, too, for meeting at the local level, whether it was with Rahm Emanuel and with our governor and here in Los Angeles. We really see those are in some ways the deepest relationships so that we can create and we'll continue that.
In regards to last night, it seems that the crash involving your motorcade is getting a lot more attention than the words from your speech, and I'm curious to get your opinion about what does that say to you about how much your message about NAFTA is actually resonating in this country?
I think the conversations I've had across this country over the past few days have been extremely positive. I think there is an element of wow, Canada's our best friend. We sort of knew that. Maybe it's not as breaking news as something else might be, but that emphasis that we are working together for the betterment of our citizens is a message that does continue and does resonate. On the issue of the motorcycle accident, obviously, I've been following up with my office to ensure that everyone is okay. I'm going to be making some phone calls a little later, and certainly I am constantly privileged to be surrounded by folks who put themselves at risk to keep us all safe, and my thought goes out to everyone involved.
We asked a question. The speech that the Prime Minister gave last night was exceptionally well received. We had staff there. I talked to individuals who were there, and the content of it was so critical and so urgent. And I know both of our hearts go out to those men and women who protect people in both of our countries. I spoke to the officers last night who were on the motorcade. The officer who went down has a broken clavicle, but he's going to heal and he's going to be okay. We appreciate really the Prime Minister's and his staff's caring for that, but don't let that overshadow the importance of what that speech was and just how well, once the breaking news of the day settles down, we know that this is deeply important work that the Prime Minister is doing, and we're so pleased he did it here in Southern California.
Next question. Hi, I'm Brittany Mejia with the Los Angeles Times. I was curious, Prime Minister, what do you think about President Trump's administration policies on immigration, and do you worry that this could drive more immigrants to Canada?
One of the focuses we have in Canada is an understanding that immigration is a source of strength. Waves of people have come to our country, to countries around the world for generations, and contributed to success, contributed to economic prosperity, contributed to the resilience and the diversity of our communities in incredibly positive ways. And Canada is a country that is open to immigration because we have a strong strong immigration system that Canadians rely on. If people come to our country seeking asylum because they're refugees, they will get processed. At the same time, Canadians know that having a strong process where we ensure security, ensure that people coming are going to be able to be successful, is integral to keeping a strong system. So that's continuing to be my message on immigration, that we are an open and welcoming country because it's our strength, but we ensure that that welcoming happens through a process that leads people to succeeding.
Conan Nolan, NBC, Los Angeles. To the Prime Minister or Mayor, if you wouldn't weigh in on this as well. There's a perception I think a lot of people have that with the America First attitude out of Washington, that heads of state see a greater value in, for lack of a better term, a workaround in talking to governors and mayors where there's greater commonality perhaps than what you're seeing out of Washington. Not only do you have the conversations about trade, etc., but also you can meet people who potentially will be running for national office. Is that part of what this trip is all about to Illinois and California?
One of the great things about the Canada-U.S. relationship is it's always been incredibly deep. I mean, your governors and our provincial premiers, our mayors and your mayors have always connected with each other, and the federal government and the Prime Minister has always engaged with leaders, from congressional leaders to people in the administration, to a broad range of actors within the economy as well. So we're always going to continue to engage in a lot of different ways, but I think people have noticed that I continue to engage regularly and constructively with President Trump as well. There's things we don't agree on, but there's a lot we do agree on as well, and looking for common ground and trying to build shared prosperity here in North America is something that we agree very much on. Working together to ensure that the middle class does better in both of our countries is a goal that both of us got elected on. Obviously there's points of difference, but the way Canada engages with the United States continues to be at all the levels that the relationship has always been, and I'm very pleased to be able to meet with mayors and governors as I have in the past under the previous administration.
You should run that in French, by the way, with subtitles on Channel 4. I want to see that. Look, we have a depth of the relationship that the Prime Minister mentioned. Here in Los Angeles, I said, the largest collection of Canadians outside of Canada. $1.5 billion in foreign direct investment, $1.2 billion in real estate investments. These are creating thousands of jobs here. Canadian companies, Bombardier, just won the contract to finally get rail into our airport. I don't know if you knew that, but it's a good announcement for us. It literally happened this past week. And, you know, we can talk about the fights, but we're a family. Canada and Mexico are our two closest friends and most important trading partners, security partners. And that is what we should be emphasizing. At the subnational level, we always have a ton of respect for whoever is at the national level and those conversations that they must engage in. But for instance, when our White House, our president withdraws from the Paris Climate Accords, we will lead the way. And with Canadian cities and others, make those sorts of agreements to enact them here in Los Angeles and now 390 other cities. We have trade policies here in the Port of Los Angeles where 43% of our goods come into America, and much of that is Canadian goods and vice versa to Canada. It is very important for us, whether it's the film industry, whether it's looking at tech investment, to make sure that we're having those conversations, which no matter who's in the White House, really comes down to people-to-people conversations at the university, at the company, at the state, at the province, and at the city level. And so we're really excited to be able to expand that opportunity. We have a great Consul General who's right back there. I guess he's not hiking. He looks, but we really have you know, a depth of relationships that isn't just about one visit. But I'll end with this. We have a Prime Minister who has made Los Angeles a priority for the first time in a long time. And I think that speaks volumes about his heart, about his vision, both for his people and also what we'd like to see on this side of the border. And we'll continue giving a message of friendship instead of one of division.
A quick follow-up, though. Yes. But so there's no frustration, Mr. Prime Minister, that you have to do a public relations campaign for NAFTA in California with a president who may or may not be watching, but who has excoriated that trade agreement throughout the campaign and even says that it may not be able to be renegotiated.
Like Canadian prime ministers before me, and I talked about this last night, have always know that when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have to speak loudly and clearly and repeatedly to remind folks of what everyone in North America tends to take for granted: the closeness of the friendship, the ease of the collaboration and cooperation across our two countries. So in every era, there's a need to talk about and ensure that the friendship and the relationship is being tended to and built on. We know that renegotiating NAFTA involves a lot of different moving parts and is important to get right, and that's why we've engaged in a spirit of compromise and firmness at the same time, and thoughtful engagement to ensure that we can move forward in a way that is a win-win for all of us. We do not believe that trade deals should be or even can be win-losses. They need to be win-win-wins. There is a clear path forward, and we're working very hard together on that path. That's just a part of the responsibility of governing.
Thank you all so much. We got to hike.
Thanks, sir.